before though.
Too much light. Too much light.
What?
Weird lighting.
Hey, Steve.
Hello, hello. How's it going?
How are you? Doing well. How about you?
Good, 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 Tony. How's it go? How's the weather down there? Same as up here, just a little cloudy?
I think we've seen the sun once in 3 weeks.
Welcome to Central New York.
Oh, wow. Long overdue.
Yeah.
Although it hasn't been a bad winter other than
No.
that.
No, it's been mellow. It's been mellow. I don't think Remsen would have used one of its snow days yet. So.
Oh, I agree with you. I agree.
Yeah.
How's that Ballard family?
You know, they're good. I see Peter at church on Sundays. And I usually go up after everything's done and I go and chat with him a little bit. He's doing well. And I see Mike Ballard down at the county all the time. So Mike's doing well. The rest of the family I don't see, but I see the two guys there.
Yes, yes. Please tell him I asked about him.
I will. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, Peter's always busy. So
He always has been. Always, always. For as long as I've known him.
my wife always says, I can't let you talk to him too much because he'll come up to me and say, hey, you got a minute? I have an idea. And then they know we're off doing something. And my wife will say, you know what? He's got great ideas, but it's super. He's great.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Okay, I'm going to join in now, gentlemen. And yes, my worst nightmare when I see Steve Boucher and Peter Ballard talking to each other.
I hear you, Ann.
I used to go, no, this cannot be happening, please.
I was just going to tell Steve, he would finish one concert or program. He'd be in your office the next day saying, I got a great idea. Well, Pete, we didn't even clean up from the night before, and he's got plans ready to initiate something else, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I remember the one night he calls me and he says, can I meet you after the soda fountain closes? I need to come down and talk to you. We meet down there. It's like a dark building. We're talking about the Remsen Art Center it is now, but at the time it was an abandoned church that was going up for tax sale. And we started to come up with a strategy and how we can get it from tax sale without spending a lot of money.
Yeah.
Luckily, it all came together. We were able to do that with no problem.
Oh, it's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, it's so much fun. But he's like, we gotta have a meeting. He goes, other people might. I go, yeah, there's other people that are interested in that building. We have to get there before they get there, Peter. And he was all excited.
Hello, Steve.
Hello, Charlene. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I forgot the audit committee meeting because of everything that's going on in this.
I think they got it all covered, though. I think you're okay. You're okay.
Everything's okay now, but
Yeah.
I felt bad I missed the meeting.
How's things in Westmoreland?
I'm sorry I couldn't hear you.
How's things down in your neck of the woods? How's things in Westmoreland?
I guess it sounds okay. Poor Rocco's having a terrible time.
Oh, no. No, what's going on with him? Is he ill?
They had to instead of having the kids come to school, they're doing it.
Yeah.
Somehow or another, we keep breaking up here.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit. I don't know if it's you or me or who it is. So
I don't know either.
I don't know. How's it? We all really get about the same weather. I always laugh at people. How's the weather down there tonight? I'll assume good. Ann, are you at home? Are you home?
Yeah.
Outstanding. I was down to the lumberyard the other day. I saw your husband. I thought he was retired. I didn't know he was still down there.
Oh my God, he does not know, no, nor do I, the meaning of retired.
No. I had to go down there to get something. I said, hey, Tom, how are you? So he's there working away.
Yep. Nobody else.
Mrs. Turner, that was a beautiful obituary about Howard.
Oh, thank you.
Very nice, very
Thank you.
nice.
Thank you.
He had been doing well though, right?
Yes, he'd been doing great until about, he fell down in the kitchen getting a snack and broke his hip. So he was in the hospital one day, and then he'd been having some other issues. So they took him to hospice care, and he was there 2 days, and that was it.
Man. Beautiful life, 101.
Beautiful life, almost 102.
God
And
bless.
you know, exactly what he wanted. After he spent so long in a nursing home, he just kept saying, I don't want that. I do not want that. I don't. And that's exactly what happened. He never had to go to a nursing home. So
Yeah, it's good. How's Tom?
Tom's good.
Good. Do you have to go down there? Or are you gonna have something up here?
Something up here later, you know, in the spring.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, just due to the number of people passing away in Florida, very difficult to get the death certificates, to get all of that even rolling. It's a challenge.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Now, pretty much every school is going remote right now. Do we have any districts that are live and running, or what's going on?
Remsen Central,
That's right. Oh, they just went back.
Remsen, York
New
Mill.
York Mills too.
Ah,
Elaine,
Yeah.
in the meeting, under communications, we just have written there the audit committee report and recommendations. I don't know if you just want to speak briefly to the committee meeting and see if anyone has any questions about the
Yeah,
reports.
I'll just make a comment. Everything's been in the packet, so if you did your work, you know about it.
Oh, right, exactly.
uh-huh.
Steve, we're going to have to, absolutely, we're going to have to make a withdrawal in the consent agenda. So you're going to want to put it through for approval of items, consent agenda B, C, and D, reflecting a withdrawal of item C2, C3. It's an employee who did get hired, but then ultimately chose not to accept the position. So
So a withdrawal of C2D3.
C2, C3,
C2C3.
like C3PO,
Gotcha.
C2, C3.
Gotcha.
Oh, it's so good to see people. Now, Elaine, I'm dying to ask you, but is that the sunroom? Is that a sunroom behind you? Like a,
Behind me? Yes,
are you able to go out there in the winter and enjoy it?
that's where I am all the time.
Like that, all that nice light?
Yep, yep.
Oh, that's great. Must be beautiful.
Unless it rains or storms, then it's too loud.
Yeah. Too much. Yeah, just having some natural light right now. There's no sun out there. I mean, oh God, Doreen, how long has it been since we've seen the sun? Way too long.
Yeah.
Way too long. All right, we are almost. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're missing 5, right?
Dr. Kilburn, I'm working with Mr. Salerno right now. I'm trying to get
Who's
him.
missing?
Okay. John is coming in. Scott's working with him right now to bring him in. Mike Moore, let me admit him. So we need Russ.
Russ.
I see Russ.
Yeah, Russ. Oh, there he is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No? Yvonne? John? Who else are we missing?
Gary.
Mary Nelson. There's Yvonne right now. Brookfield,
Gary
Waterville,
Nelson.
Hartford, the Mills, and Utica, Whitesboro, that's John. New Holland Patton, Remsen, and then Oriskany and Westmount. I'm thinking, are we missing just John and Michelle Anderson right now?
Yeah.
Deb, what do you have? Is that what you got?
Mr. Nelson and Mr. Salerno?
Mr. Nelson has joined.
Oh,
Mr.
there he is. Okay.
Salerno is working with Scott Morris right now to try to come in.
So, and Mrs. Anderson will not be attending. So, Mr. Salerno?
And we'll probably can just wait another minute for John to come on. He's on the phone with Scott right now.
Trish, I logged into the web page and it says that the meeting is at the school. Is it actually there or just Zoom?
No, it's only via Zoom.
Okay, because it says the public announcement here says it's there.
On the webpage. Deb, you posted,
Yeah.
did you indicate Zoom on the post?
I thought I did.
Okay.
I went to homepage and I went down to, events and meetings and things.
We'll have
Maybe
to
there's
check that to see that. It might have just been like standard language that was up there. I know that when we're posting the ads for it, we're saying Zoom.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll make sure to follow up on that.
Maybe there's some people sitting there waiting for us.
Now you got me concerned. Now I'm wondering, should I get up and run up there? Hello?
We don't get a lot of customers. We don't get a lot of outside.
Spectators. We don't draw much attention.
Dr. Killen, it's going to take a couple minutes, so I don't want to hold you up.
Okay, so we'll just wait. All right, so do we want to begin, Steve? He's working, Scott's working with John right now.
We'll go and then have John jump in when he can get through.
Perfect.
Okay, so we'll call this OHM BOCES Cooperative Board meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Well, welcome everybody through the Zoom world. And we're going to start off tonight with recognition. We have none. We have no recognition, no visitors, right?
Right.
And it's a closed meeting. We do have to announce that the meeting's being broadcasted, do we not?
Yep, it's being broadcast. Yep.
Being broadcast live, so live from New Hartford. And then we go on to communications. We'll start off with Elaine, and she's going to just see if she has any comments about the audit committee report and recommendations. Elaine?
Okay. In your packet on page 51, there begins quite an extensive review of the audit committee's meeting that we had about a week ago. Actually, it focused primarily on the controller's report relative to the information technology program. The state had picked up several things that they felt that we should address, mostly with process and procedure. A lot of the items are very difficult to address, but Scott did a great job in sending information to them, telling them how we were going to work on this. So I think we're just going to be fine with it. The committee spent a lot of time listening to it, and we understand where we're coming from and where we're headed. And in about 6 months, we're going to get another report. The committee, every time it meets, will get a report on how their plan is going. We also had to reapprove the submission of the original audit recommendations because apparently they were sent in without a date. And we had to add the date to them, so they are on your agenda today also to take care of. And we talked about going out for an RFP for auditors. Generally, our process has been that we go out every 5 years. We are at the 5-year period, so we're going to begin to work on an RFP to recognize, review, identify auditors for our general audit. And that was basically the meeting. It was a short meeting, but we covered a lot of things, and Scott did a great job in his presentation to us.
Nice. Good. Are there any questions from anybody? Thank you, Elaine. Any questions from anybody about the information shared? I have a quick question for Scott. I know he's still on the phone.
Go ahead, Mr. Boucher.
You implemented the training software. It says no before. Is that something that you got from some software program that teaches everybody what to do and how to handle the computer safely, or sign on, sign off, passwords, what have you?
Yeah, so the Regional Information Center purchased it on the behalf of 52 school districts a year and a half ago for the purpose of training staff on, email, phishing, vishing, the things that people need to look for to keep their environment safe.
Gotcha.
So we implemented that last year. We've also got a training program that's now been adopted in orientation, right? And then know before will be used 2 or 3 times a year. It's nice because it's got a wealth of trainings built into it.
Nice.
And once you get the user base loaded, you can initiate trainings really on demand. So it's certainly something the state wants done every year, and I think we're positioned nicely to do it.
Yeah, I'm sure you have a lot of employees that just don't realize that they're making certain types of mistakes. They, because they operate on their computers at home, they're not realizing that this is a work computer and they can't probably do the same type of operations.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting because when we initially rolled this out, there you go, John, I see it right now. So when we initially rolled this out, I was expecting the percentage of employees that would click on a malicious link would have been probably 40 to 50%. And initially when we rolled it out, it was less than 10.
Wow.
So
good.
it was quite impressive, honestly, that staff had become aware of this without training, but obviously the training is needed.
Yeah, absolutely. In the 30-day deactivation time frame, was that always in place, or is that something you implemented?
No, that is a result of this audit.
Yeah,
that's good. The challenge we have with it is we have so many employees that are on our payroll that may not work directly in the organization, right? So, Ann Turner's got quite a few of them that are on the payroll. They need accounts in order to get access to email, but aren't here. So we really didn't monitor that well, right? So now what we're going to do is looking at that every 30 days to see who has not accessed that account, and we will disable it. We're not going to delete any of them, obviously, but they'll be disabled. And then if that user needs access, his or her supervisor can communicate that, and that'll be turned on.
Nice. Awesome. Well, thank you. Any other questions from anybody about the audit? No. Okay, hearing none. Thank you very much. How about communications from the floor? Doctor, do we have some other communications from the floor?
Not at this time.
Nothing at this time. And so I'll turn over the correspondence portion to you. The C is correspondence for Capital Conference in NISBA.
Yes, so there are conferences, of course, that we normally go to physically that are now being provided virtually. And Deb Kimball, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the Capital Conference is free, I believe, because we are already school board members, New York State School Board Association. So if you're interested in attending the Capital Conference, or any of them, as a matter of fact, please reach out to Deb Kimball. Deb, do you know the price point just you have available for the National School Board Association Conference?
I thought it was around 6 something a person.
Yeah. So we were surprised that though virtual, it's not much less expensive than if you attend physically. But if you are interested in attending that conference, or you want to find out more about that, please reach out to Deb Kimball so she can make arrangements on your behalf.
Well, super. Thank you very, very much. And next we go on to the district superintendent's report. You're back on.
I am back on. So first and foremost, there's Chris Hill. We've talked about the annual meeting. So Chris Hill puts together the meeting of the annual meeting. So staff can start to get together to plan what that might look like. And of course, we're not very optimistic that we can try to have a fully in-person annual meeting. I have yet to experience a BOCES in-person annual meeting at OHM, and I'm really looking forward to it. But it does involve over 100 people coming on site, breaking bread together, not really COVID friendly. So there's some other options that the group is exploring, and I'm going to ask Chris Hill to touch upon that briefly with the board.
Yeah, so we've been at what's called the annual meeting. That's what we call it. We discussed, different options for the annual meeting because, as Dr. Kilbert had mentioned, a traditional annual meeting on the traditional date is probably not realistic. So we looked at a couple options. Handling the business portion of the meeting virtually is probably something we'll look to do, and then we'll look for some different kind of replicant activities or substitute activities throughout the year. The rest of the year, whether it's creating virtual tours that we can send out to boards and things of that nature. We looked at the possibility of doing something on campus maybe late in the year, like near June, do some of the tours and the dinner. The challenge there, to be honest with you, is the students have not been on campus a lot. So their ability right now to create a meal is probably not what it would normally would be at this time, or the ability of students to give demonstrations is going to be limited because of the amount of time and lack of familiarity on campus. But that's a hurdle that we're going to look at. There are a couple different options. We're looking to try to replicate some of that experience because, again, we'd really like our new district superintendent to experience that fantastic meeting as it normally is.
One of the things that was mentioned in some of the discussion and then afterwards is that that pocket of time in the late year is such a busy time for schools in general, and that if we're able to start getting things to kind of happen again, graduations, proms, end of the year celebrations are probably going to take some priority there for local districts, but there might be some chances there. Gary.
It's probable that you're not going to be able to do an open house here either. So I was kind of wondering if you could combine doing a virtual tour of the place with the open house, that you do a virtual open house and maybe marry those two things together. Just a thought.
A proposal on the table for a unique kind of marriage, Chris Hill. Sounds interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like it. Thank you, Gary.
That's a cool idea.
That is a cool idea. Any other questions? Okay, moving on. COVID testing. So we were able to test employees recently over the past 3 days. You know what? I just realized I don't see Tom Dorr. Oh, there you are, Tom Dorr, right there in the right-hand corner. We were able to do some COVID testing of our employees. We did a small pilot just to get kind of our feet wet with what COVID testing would be like on December 28th. And then during the past week, we were able to bring some employees in to test. It was successful. People were able to come in and come out and test. We also attached a survey so that as they tested, they could respond to a survey to give us information on how we can even do better. And I'm just curious, Tom, do you have any figures for us on how many might have tested or where we were with that?
I do. On December 28th, we tested 54 people. We did have 3 positives out of that, which is interesting because, again, you're supposed to be able to pass our screening test before you come in. But it's not all that much alarming because, again, as we're finding through this, you can test positive. They're saying up to 90 days after you were infected. I mean, you could be feeling absolutely fine. You could have been asymptomatic when you originally had it. So you may never have known that you had COVID. But so the first round on December 28th, we tested 54 people, 3 positive. And then last week we had instructional staff in. On Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we tested 112 people and we had 2 positives. Put those 2 numbers together and we had about a 3% positivity rate, which would certainly be beneficial to the overall county figures at this point. So we're looking forward to doing more testing and hopefully to get the numbers down all over. And I can say that's probably true for all of our component districts. We're shipping out test kits every day. Remsen called for a few more today. I think Oriskany also, and Viceboro was very active with it. So they're all geared up and trained and ready to go. So if we get into a zone, I think we have the ability to at least test. Whether we can test out or not will remain to be seen, but we're up and running.
So, there's some positive feedback with that. Some of the challenges have been for us as a BOCES is that, we continue to support our component districts who right now in large majority are fully remote and not yet open. So when we're going to be able to bring kids back onto our campus and start testing them back in might shift accordingly because we're working in collaboration with the peer districts who are sending us children or in some cases not sending us children. But we are prepared to do that. We were pleased to see the testing program come out and in large part be successful. And we got our feet wet. So when we're able to open our doors and have children and staff return and start having to test for that 20%, I think we're going to be prepared to do so. So that's some good news. The next piece is vaccinations. I don't have any official news on vaccinations. As you know, the governor said that employees in schools now can become vaccinated. It began like this rush on the site. So I can tell you from my own experience, I've had a bear of a time trying to get scheduled for vaccination because they're just full everywhere. And some people have joked, a group of peer superintendents that I was speaking to, that it started this migration a little bit, like I'm going to Syracuse on March 3rd for mine, so everybody's kind of like moving around the state trying to find places to get vaccinated. Certainly, we hope that more vaccine will come to New York and open up more opportunities. And we are meeting with the county executive and the new director of health for Oneida County tomorrow morning at 8. We're meeting with the local superintendents. Hopefully, he can provide us some updated information about vaccine. He has made some public statements, I think 3 of them at this point, stating his belief that schools should be closed and not open for in-person instruction until maybe February or until there can be more vaccine brought in. And that creates a unique circumstance for school districts. For example, we have some school districts in our region that are open right now. They're conducting their testing and their infection rates are really low. So for example, though the regional rate is at, upper 9s, I think at this point, our infection rate on just faculty was considerably lower than that at 3%. So there's that balance piece that local superintendents are trying to juggle. There's an expectation being voiced that schools stay closed. They have testing kits. They're interested in having some kids come in and test. There is the concern about community spread and hospital capacity right now. That's a significant concern, and we're very much aware that the hospitals are really kind of filled to the brim. And there's vaccine. Isn't it so great to say we have it? But boy, do we wish we could have it sooner and more of it. So you'll hear a lot, I think, through the next few weeks about schools and the rationale they have to use in the decision making to keep schools open or not, and the next steps. So hopefully, as I get more information about vaccine, I can share that with the board through the update and maybe even through another meeting. So look for more there. And that closes my portion of the report.
Dr. Kilburn?
Yes.
I happened to be on a county meeting earlier today, so I know a little bit more about the vaccinations, what's happening.
Oh, great.
And some of the confusion. So what I learned today, and you'll learn tomorrow morning at 8, that there's no guidance coming from the federal government, as we know. And then there's really no guidance coming from the state government to the county government either. The governor wanted to give a vaccine as quickly as he could to the hospitals, but the hospitals are overwhelmed with what's going on, just taking care of people.
Right.
And they've been focusing on vaccinating the healthcare or the healthcare community. So the counties have decided to open up these, what Mr. Presenti will call pods, and the good people up at MVCC have already started one.
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing from people that are county legislators that have had relatives go, it's going along very, very smoothly, and they're able to give vaccinations to hundreds of people a day, compared to, like if you went to the hospital, if you could even get an appointment, you get to get. So it's very, very difficult. So help is on the way, but it's supply and demand too. The supply of the COVID vaccination aren't as plentiful as they once thought they were going to be. they're getting like 3,000, and they got like yesterday the county got another 1,800. I mean, they're not getting 10s and 20 and 30. You know, they also have to store them in a certain type of freezer, and so it's kind of complex. But the county is jumped on the forefront of going ahead and trying to. You're gonna see something with a drive-through clinic coming up at Griffiths that'll open up like in days. So they just had to work out the details. But MVCC, that's going wonderfully, and so they hope to start being able to vaccinate that next wave of people, the B1 and what have you.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. All I can tell you is that if I can find one sooner than March 3rd, I will be in line happily waiting to get my shot.
The other thing about jumping across the borders, people have gone to Madison County and Onondaga County, but by doing that, they've depleted the supply. So you might call Madison or Onondaga today and find they have nothing.
Right.
So Oneida County's been trying to, they made an arrangement through Mohawk Valley Health Systems, Elaine can tell you, to be one of the regional Mohawk Valley. So they've been using different stricter rules than other counties. So that's why you see some of that jumping over the border.
Some of the migration, shall we say.
Yes, absolutely.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for that update. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it helps on the way, but they're really looking for more vaccines. It's funny about government is that that when you're at a town government, you blame things on the county, and the county blames them on the state, and the state blames them on the Fed. So they keep rolling uphill. But
that works.
The governor has a really weird way of rolling all of this out. I mean, it's been odd. So anyhow, but that's where it's at. But help's coming.
Good.
All right. So I'm sorry. So you were ending up. Anyone have a question?
Done. Yeah, I was good.
Okay. All right. So we'll move on to section number 7, which is the approval for the minutes of our regular meeting for December 9th, 2020. If we can get a motion to approve those minutes.
So move.
Moved by Mr. Salerno and second by.
Second.
Mrs. Belmo, I see. I could. Okay, good. Very good. Discussion and all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Approval of the minutes. Now we're going to go on to get a motion for the approval of the consent agenda B, C, and D with the withdrawal. We're having a withdrawal of C2, C3. Okay. And Dr. Kilburn, did you want to talk to C2, C3, or did you before we move on?
Yes, item C2, C3 is an employee that was hired. And we said, hey, great, love to have you, but did reach out to us recently and said, appreciate it, but I'm not able to move forward with accepting the position and beginning. So we are back to the drawing board on that position.
Okay, very good. Okay, so with that withdrawal, we need a motion to approve consent agenda B, C, D. Can I get that motion?
So move.
Moved by Ms.
Second. Yep.
And second by Charlene, I think that was. So.
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Okay, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any motion carries. Okay, that takes us over to board topics. Number 8, board topics, where Dr. Kilburn, you're back on.
Well, this is kind of a blended conversation. We have our next retreat. We had pushed it into January because of COVID. And here we are looking at January 23, and what do we still have? COVID. And you've all had an opportunity to go through the thought exchange material that was sent to you. And so in the development meeting, the officers were really wondering, how can we start to engage in discussion? As board members, how can you start to engage in some discussion around that thought exchange while you're in a Zoom world? And it's probably not the best format for that kind of discussion. So how might it look in person? Is there a way we can convene in person to have that discussion? And if so, is it January 23 or is it later than January 23? So really this is kind of the board's discussion, but I think we kind of need some feedback from the board.
Tough.
I can say one thing. On the 23rd for the retreat, there are a couple board members that would prefer to come to campus if we could do it and you could provide us with an opportunity to do it safely. I would prefer to be there if I could. Although I'm not as concerned about some of the safety, but I am concerned with safety. I don't want to say that, it's a public meeting. I'm concerned, but I would like to be there. And a couple other board members have voiced concern to me that, they could just hear better or see better, interact better if they were on the live portion of it. If other people want to stream in, that's great. But they would feel comfortable coming to campus if you could provide us with an opportunity to be away from each other a little bit, but maybe in the same room.
Now, is this January 23rd?
Yes, that would be 10 days from now.
Okay, to tell you the truth, to go through these things, I read through them and I was interested in having some discussion. I read some of the superintendent's comments and I had thoughts about, is it different than it normally is and this kind of thing. But to do it on the Zoom is difficult to do. I mean, as board members, we need to evaluate what they said. We need to evaluate what we said and connect them and then reach out and do what we need to do. So I think it's better to have a discussion face to face. I make a lot of faces so people could tell what I think, see, and here maybe they can't.
Not a poker player.
Not a poker player.
I'm very insightful as far as I'm concerned. I know what's plus and what's minus.
So the other part of the conversation was, in what ways could we make in-person safe? And is January 23 a comfortable date to continue that, exploring the idea of coming together in person for a retreat?
Now, as far as I'm concerned, I'm having my vaccination the 30th of January. So a few days after that, I'm going to be in Florida. So I would be Zoom at that point. So the 23rd does work for me.
Okay.
How about others? Does the 23rd still work fine? Everything good? And it looks like we could probably do something. Dr. Kilburn, you arranged for us with the tables and a distance before. Perhaps we could do it again.
Well, I think so. Some parameters that one would have to consider are, I will have to do some follow-up to see what is the in-person status of schooling. Because one of the things I'm wondering is, would we require, I don't think we would be required to test for the 20%. So I think we're fine with that. Yeah, I think depending on the number. So if it's not the whole group, right? So if it's less than the whole group that's coming in person, I think we probably want to exceed the 6 feet. The CDC recommendations have now been to 10 feet of social distancing with masks because of the air, the fact that this is airborne and the fact that we're indoors in winter. So I think we'd have to look at opening up Oneida room with the room, Madison and Herkimer, creating a bigger space, and maybe trying to find even more space between the tables and still be able to hear each other. So that will be something we have to figure out logistically. I would like to offer that if you do want to explore coming on campus, that we test. It's such a simple thing to do, but we can actually COVID test your way in the door. You can have a COVID test and wait for 15 minutes and know whether or not you have it before you come in. I think that would put people at a level of comfort. But we would ask that you still be masked during that time. And we might have to rethink food because taking the masks off and eating is proving to be very problematic. That's starting to spread.
You don't have to eat.
Right. I wonder if we want to do something shorter or smaller, something that maybe starts at 9 a.m., like 9 to 11 a.m. and just have a discussion. You can come together for a discussion about the thought exchange, and then we'll kind of leave it there. And then maybe if we have to come back together again in a month for another small time or 6 weeks later for another discussion, that might be the smartest way to do it, to cut down time that we're together physically in a room.
I'm having audio problems hearing you, Patricia. This is the 23rd of January?
It is, Mike, the 23rd of January, yes.
That's a Saturday?
Yes, it is.
And the event is?
It would be a board retreat.
Oh, weekends in January are very crowded for me. We have family things almost every weekend.
Right.
Sweet enough.
So we had set aside this date a while ago. So that's why we're bringing it up now, because it might be.
I know. I registered
right?
that too.
Yeah. So I think what we could do is something hybrid. So I do think if all 12 board members want to come together in person, I think that's possibly an insurmountable challenge to have that many people in a room for that long. But I'm getting a sense that some people would prefer to come in virtually while others would prefer to come in person.
I personally makes more sense with this important thing that we're doing. as you say, we may only need a couple of hours on this and then do other retreat items along the way.
Yeah.
But we could do it hybrid. I mean, some people who want to do it by Zoom would do it by Zoom, and those of us who would like to kind of discuss and debate and that kind of thing could get together.
I think, Dr. Kilburn, we'd have to spend some time, and I'm not thinking Robert's rules, but I'm thinking we'd have to spend some time to figure out how we can respectfully give people virtually their proper amount of time to really talk and give feedback. Because I think sometimes in this environment, it becomes difficult. And we almost have to force the issue. We have to stop the bus and say, okay, we're going to give the next 2 minutes to, John over here to talk. And, because otherwise, I think you'll lose it again. I mean, we'll lose those people.
Well, that makes sense, to give each one who's on a virtual situation a time to comment.
Right. Because even in the live scenarios, for those of us that talk a lot, like myself, sometimes people that don't speak up as much kind of get pushed aside by accident. And in this environment, it's even worse.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yes, and I think what we could do is have someone moderate the chat and moderate the Zoom. So we'll be physically located. One of the people who's physically located will be on a computer and say, Mr. Moore has a question or would like to make a point, and then we can build that in. So I think that's possible. What I will need to know is who would prefer to participate virtually, so that I can understand just how many people. So 2 things: who's going to participate virtually, who's unable to participate at all, and then who's planning on attending in person. So Deb, I'd ask if you could put something together and reach out to the board members via email so they can respond to you and you can tabulate that for us, so we can make some decisions there. And as we know with COVID, if suddenly things change, be prepared for change. We're getting really good at that now. Oh, that's changed? Okay. But right now I feel that we have a good plan. And I think just having an opportunity to discuss and come away with maybe some key common understandings would be a great goal. And we'll just keep it small and simple, just like that. And then we can return at a later date to explore maybe some of our findings from that discussion and what our next steps will be.
Trish?
Yes, Charlene.
Trish?
Yes.
Could I, did I understand you say that if we did decide to come in person, that we would be able to be tested?
Yeah, so I think what I'd like to do is see if we can't offer COVID testing so that you could drive up in your car, let us know that you're there. We could let you COVID test, and then you could just hang out in your car for the 15 minutes and we'll let you know if you're negative or positive. And if you're positive, you drive away and no one knows. It's very discreet. And if you're negative, you can come on in. But we do stress that if you are negative, I would still ask that you be masked, because though negative, it doesn't mean that you not necessarily don't have it. It just means you have enough antibodies or antigen. You don't have enough virus level to trigger a positive on the test.
Okay.
Okay, so
All
we'll talk about all those arrangements. You're welcome. Deb, I think we'll set up a meeting and maybe with Ann and Senior Counsel Tom Dorr to coordinate what this could look like and how we might set that up to include some testing, to include virtual participation and in-person participation, and to structure the conversation so we can get everybody involved and also be cognizant of our time. Okay, sounds like a plan.
Awesome. So, Doctor, does that cover thought exchange too for you?
It does. It covers the whole shebang. We should be good.
The whole shebang. All right, perfect. I'm moving on to old business, and I see none. So there's no old business, so we don't have to address that, which takes us next to executive session. And I remember we don't need a motion to go into executive session, if I recall correctly, right? We just
We need a motion to go
It's
into
coming out.
go in, but not to come out.
Right.
Gotcha. So may I please have a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing the employment history of a particular person?
So move.
Moved by Mr. Moore and second by Mrs. Corbin. And okay, we're in executive. Who do you need, Doctor?
Well, we're not there yet. Yep, I need everyone. So I need
Definitely.
you all. So Scott, can you bring us all into a room, including yourself?
I can.
Oh, and Deb,